Hello and welcome in this week's episode of Hobby Banter. Well, as the previous weeks, I'll continue working on the trigon. Last week I finished with applying the first highlights to the tail and lower limbs. So I'm going to continue building that color up now. Just clean this paint pot a bit. So, and as I said before, this series is for just keeping you a bit company whilst you're painting or doing something hobby related. Some glaze medium, by the way. So you have some noise in the background, somebody talking. And I'll talk a bit about my day, my week. Oh, that gray is still wet. Make a new mixture. I thought it was dry by now, but it isn't. So again, 4 parts bone white, 1 part dead white. A little bit of medium in there. And the medium slows down the drying period of the paint, and it also makes it a bit thinner without disrupting the consistency of the paint. So you don't get the loose pigments. So over the last week the channel hit 1800 subscribers, which is pretty nice. I'm still amazed with every new subscriber. Said this before, I know, but I didn't count on this amount of subscribers. So yeah, very happy with how it goes. But as usual, I always see things to improve on and to make just a bit better. But that's all for the future. So after last week, when Igor and me played some Kill Team Arena, it kinda got me in the mood for well, basically to do something more with that type of table. And I would really like to have a Zone Mortalis table one day in the future, but I would probably end up making that myself. Since, well, I think we all know the Fortune one's pretty expensive. It's looking really good though, but I don't see myself convince my wife that I need one of those, to be honest. No, in general, she is not. She doesn't complain about me buying models, but I think a 600 € table might cause some issues, and I don't want that to happen, obviously. So I started thinking, well, what can I do to still play some, close quarter confined game. And then I thought of Space Hulk. So I started by looking on online marketplaces. eBay, and there's a Dutch one. But then again, I found the game without models for, I believe, 45 €, which I felt was way too much. And I found the complete game for around 200 €, which I also didn't plan on spending. So I kept looking and I found one for 100, which was already more interesting. And then last weekend I had to drop off some models in a store, and I noticed them having a couple of Space Hulk copies actually, and it was 87.50. So I figured, well, I'm not gonna get it any cheaper than that probably. New in the sealed box. So I picked that one up, and they actually had like 4 or 5 more copies, but I'm not the kind of person who will then just buy all of them to sell them on for a huge increase in price. When I see some people try and make ridiculous amounts of money over one stupid figure, I kind of get annoyed by it. I don't know what you guys think about that, but let me know. And clearly, it's everybody's right to do that, but I don't completely agree. It's already expensive enough, and if I would do that, if I would buy a limited edition model or something like that I would do that for people who miss the opportunities, who buy it probably, and then so sell it for the normal price plus shipping costs. But in general, I'm not that interested in the limited edition models, especially since most of them are primarily tenants anyway, and I have a couple of those. So if I wanted more, I would just kit bash them or convert them up. So this week our 4-year-old finally went to school again after being sick for 2 weeks. Well, the last couple of days she wasn't sick anymore, but the flu virus that's going around over here has the nasty tendency to come back if you go and do your regular thing too fast. So we decided to just keep her home a bit longer. wait till she really was completely better. I think nonetheless in current day society we are um, pretty often tempted to get back to regular business a bit too fast. And therefore not fully recover. It's not, obviously it's not a bad thing if you really want to, if you're eager to get back to work. Um, but I kind of feel like it's safe to just stay home one more day than might be needed. And I do get that if you have personnel that you might not agree on this, but it's in nobody's advantage if people get sick in like a couple of days again or a couple of weeks. And maybe that one day could save that. Because even though you might not be sick anymore or feeling sick anymore, your body is still not fully recovered on the first day, clearly. You need some rest and that kind of stuff. I think you all know what I mean by that. However, she went back to school and it all went well. She's a bit tired, but that's okay. I think we're all tired after being sick, and that's what I mean by your body needs to recover from it, even though you're feeling good and better. I was pretty happy yesterday. I finished bikes for Speed Freaks. So earlier this evening I started working on the first wagon. And, forgive me the name. It's the Zap wagon, the one that in 40k can zap all over the table, and the race car that's in the Speed Freak game. I believe it's yellow in the on the box. Clearly mine's not going to be yellow. It's going to be blue, just like the other orcs I'm painting. And that's more like just in case I want to start an army in the future. I have them already all in the same color. So I painted all 6 bikes blue as well. When we are going to record a couple of games for Speed Freaks, I'll probably put some colored dice with them or something, or token. We'll see. We'll solve that right then. I am really looking forward to play some Speed Freaks again. And next Saturday you'll, or Sunday, depending on when the studio vlog video goes out, you'll see the results. And if I really make a lot of progress this week, I might just start on that Space Hulk box as well. I think it will also be nice to paint some Tyranids in a different color than this for the occasion, since due to their bases they probably aren't really usable in regular 40k, so I can nicely pick a different color. But I'll first see, maybe come up with something myself or just paint them in a different High Fleet color. I like the High Fleet Hydra lore, so maybe I'll take that one. Yeah, the Blood Angels, they will be Blood Angels. Otherwise I'd really have to take all the iconography off, and I don't want to do that. I'm also nearly done building all the Necrons, just need a couple more to finish. And then I can finally start painting those. I need to work on a base for the Tomb Spider as well. It's by far my favorite Necron model. And I want him, I'm not gonna put him on the ugly see-through stick. I hate those bases. So I'm gonna make him a nice scenic base. Good thing about Necrons is that if you, for example, buy Lichguard, or no, it's only Lichguard, it's not with the Immortals, but you get all the extra upper bodies. So with a bit of green stuff and the extra upper bodies, I can make the Tomb Sentinel. Well, the Tomb Sentinel or the Spider itself is built already, but I can give it a pose in which it is repairing some other dudes. I'm nearly done building the Seraptech as well, but it's all assembled in parts now because I want to have access to certain pieces during the painting process. So I'm not sure if I'm going to show a lot of that process in videos. And there was one piece with a weapon arm that didn't really want to do what I wanted it to do. So I needed to use the hair dryer for quite some while. I have a hair dryer as my standard equipment in my lying right next to me here. For whenever I work with resin, and it doesn't do what I want it to do, I'll show it who's boss. As always, the one thing I absolutely hate about Forge World models is the amount of release agent they put on those models. I've worked with more resin models that don't have that huge amount of crap on them. Even though I have to say that most of the parts in the Seraptech were okay. One of the weapons was really, really bad. Well, that was fast. How far are we? Only 18 minutes. So that probably means that I can do all the highlights in this video. That's nice. So I had to turn the camera off for a bit. I had a bad cough. So and today, or yeah, today they announced that real ugly dude for Blackstone Fortress. Well, ugly in the sense that if it would be reality, it would be very ugly. But the model is really great. And when I first saw it, my initial idea was to get me one to paint for a tutorial. But I'm not gonna, because I bought Space Hulk, and I also pre-ordered that Age of Sigmar box together with Igor. I'm just gonna add a bit of paint so that I can continue with next layer. The mixture now is 3 parts bone white, over 1 part dead white, but it's 6-2, but it's the same mixture. Igor really wanted the Skaven part, and I've been looking at the Flesh Eater Court for longer. Every time when I think of doing another Age of Sigmar army, I have a Stormcast Eternal army. I think I mentioned that before. Always they are the Flesh Eaters are always with them, with the ones I like. I like the models, I like the idea, and I think I already know how I'm going to paint them. In case you've watched The Descent, it's a horror movie, really bad horror movie by the way. But there's some type of creatures underground, and they're very pale. I really like that look for ghouls. So I think I'll go with something like that, and probably make it an easy paint job. So a lot of airbrushing and then some detailing, some blood splatters, and some accents, and then be done with it. Just to get an army on the table, because not every army that I paint I'll spend the amount of time on that I, for example, do with the Tyranids. Because sometimes you just, you want an army and you just build it, paint it, play with it. Oh, I'm sorry, I was a bit focused on what I was doing. I can't wait to work something, to film something with my new tripod. Well, I've already used it in the battle reports, in the post-game discussion, because it's very nice to just set up on the table, put the camera on it, and then not having to hold the camera in my hand all the time. No, we also looked at recording games using a tripod, but that seems like nearly impossible to do, since you won't get everything on camera. And there's always going to be blind spots on the table due to terrain and stuff like that. So unless we buy a second camera, and that's not gonna happen anytime soon. and I don't like the top-down view on battle reports myself, so I won't do that for simply that reason. I just don't like it. I always have trouble following those battle reports. So before I started recording this video, I actually was in doubt if I shouldn't just take a different model and paint that with a smaller tripod. And maybe I should have, but well, this thing is on the to-do list, so not that I plan on instantly playing with it or something like that, but I'm more eager to get the Bioforce ready. I think they are, as far as Tyranids go, will be a far more useful addition to the army. Mainly because of all the mortal wounds they can throw around on the table. And their ability to do that without line of sight. So that might be pretty useful against scary targets. Also, this weekend were all the announcements from LVO, and it seems like there's quite a lot of good stuff coming our way. I'm really eager to find out what the new game is in the Age of Sigmar setting with from the designers from Kill Team and Shadespire. Kind of curious to find out. I've said in a Q&A before that I would like to see a Kill Team like game for Age of Sigmar. Because when Kill Team was released, I really didn't plan on making a lot of teams, but once we really got playing it, I nearly made 6 teams in the meantime. So I'm working on the last orc models. I'm painting in the skin at well, not exactly right now, but at the moment. And so it's the last 4, and that's up to 100 points then. The downside in orcs is that it instantly is going to be like a 14 dudes team, which might, especially for arena, cause some problems, because the way I think about arena at the moment is that if you bring a big team, you're going to have a huge advantage. But that's for March. Probably there will be a lot of orcs on the channel in March. Which should be nice, because orcs appear to be cool. I tried to make an orc army in the past, a couple of times actually, but every time I failed, because I just got discouraged by the amount of orcs that I needed to paint. So therefore this time I'm not set out to make an army. I decided to make a kill team, and I'm gonna paint up the speed freak box. And I did the big mech earlier for a tutorial. With 2 of the mega knobs. So when that's all painted, um, I all of a sudden might end up with a small army. Well, no, not might. I will end up with a small army. And if I then just every now and then add a box to that army, in the end, it will become a real army. But then again, I'm already working on the Tyranids for, I think, 3 years now, something like that. And that's not finished, so let's finish that army first. Even though the base concept of that army is getting to its finishing point. What else is that? But the army is finished when I have every entry at least once in it. With the probable exception of the Haridan, the four-wheeled flyer, because I really don't like that model. And all the other ones from four-wheeled I have. But it all needs painting, so still quite some work to do. It either needs painting or repainting. I collected so many crap over the years that sometimes I myself don't even know what I have. And then I find a box and there's a Baneblade in there or something like that. And I sold quite a lot a couple of years ago, but still mystery boxes keep appearing everywhere. Well, not exactly everywhere in the house, mostly on the attic, in the storage part of the attic. Oh, this guy is really starting to turn out nicely. So it's a bit early in the year, but I'm starting to think that maybe this year I should enter armies on parade. I've never done that, but it might be nice to just to do it just for once. The thing that always made me not want to enter, or not so much want, but that made me not enter, was the having to wait an entire day, and I find that a waste of time. I'd rather spend that time painting. And the local Warhammer shop obviously isn't keen on me bringing all my other brand stuff, which I completely understand. Can't blame them. I mean, they want to sell their stuff, so it's their good right. I think I would do the same thing myself. The whole fortual discussion, however, is something different. I mean, that's basically the same company. I know it's not technically the same company, but you know, it's a bit of a dumb move to say you can't put virtual models on there. But I believe the local store manager here doesn't make a really big problem out of it. He's not really a big fan of it, but he'll allow it. However, the amount of entries here isn't that big as well. And that has to do with one guy always winning all the prizes. Or a lot of the prizes. So, I think that turns people down in wanting to enter competitions, if you know. But on the other end, you know, if you know your chances, people don't go. But on the other end, there's a lot to learn. You know, I visit Skill Model Challenge every year, and I have no business there, painting wise. You know, I can paint a nice army, but that's not the meaning of that show, because it's really a painter contest. So compare it more to crystal brush and stuff like that. So our army painting looks like complete crap between what those guys do. This is dry enough. So. I'm hard-headed, so I'm gonna try it again to make some paint on top of older paint. But this is from this morning, I believe. So this should be dry. And if not, I'm gonna stop the video, clean my little palette off, and then continue from there on. So now it's a 2-to-1 ratio, as usual. Oh, and by the way, I once again forget to mention what brush I'm using, but it's Winsor & Newton size 1. So, when this highlight is applied, I'm gonna start working on the other 4 limbs. But that won't be in this video. I'll pick something else to paint. Maybe the orc wagon. So I'm pretty tired. So after I record this video, I'll probably stop painting. So I don't really want to do anything that's gonna take a lot of time. You know, there's always tomorrow. And to go and unpack Space Hulk in this video would be kind of dumb. I'm not gonna do an unboxing, by the way, because it's so old, and I think, as you know, I'm not really a fan of unboxings. So unboxings are cool if they're before the release, when you can't see the sprues yet. And since all the unboxings nowadays are on the day of the pre-order, yeah, it levels down to somebody's opinion you're listening to. I'm not saying that they should make the videos, and it might be of use to people. but I just don't. It's not for me. I'll form my own opinion the moment I have it in my hands if I'm really interested in it. And I basically what I want to do is I want to see the sprues, just what's on there. And when I start working on an army, so let's now, for example, take the orcs. I have the, I have, I have the mech, the big mech in mega armor. Then two of the knobs that come with him, a squad of boys, a squad of Gretchen, a squad of Burner boys, the wagon, the bikers, the other wagon, and I believe there was something else. Oh yeah, Pain Boy, and the Pain Boy. But I don't have the codex, and I don't care about the codex until I'm ready to play. So that's basically how my armies get into existence. I'll just buy what I think is cool. I'll throw it together, and that's the army, and I'll deal with it then. And quite often, then I'll replace something because I think, well, that's really not working, or that's a really crappy unit, or something new is released, and I want that model as well. And another problem I always have is that I really like horde armies. Um, so probably with orcs, the first thing I would fill in is 6 times 30 dudes in the troop slots to have that 180 dudes baseline to work from. Then add a couple of characters. And since I started playing 40k in 3rd edition, the habit I still have is I'll first pick 2 troop choices in an HQ, which is completely useless nowadays. Because I believe it should be 2 HQs and 3 troop choices at least. Which is again a smart marketing trick from Games Workshop, clearly. Because now it means you need to buy 2 extra boxes to get your army off to a pretty good start. Because you really want the command points. Unless you play without them, but then you might just as well play without the whole detachment shenanigans as well. I don't know if you agree with me on that. Let me know. Maybe it's not even a marketing trick. I really like 8th edition. 7th edition I wasn't a really big fan of. And the moment I played some Horus Heresy with my Sons of Horus, I got nearly instantly reminded of all the rules I found really dumb and stupid. So I'm not really inclined to, with this rule set, play Horus Heresy. I will finish my army, but because I like painting them. And I have quite a lot of them, and they will show up later this year on the channel. Which reminds me that I still have to finish building Horus. But that shouldn't be a really big problem. So I'm wondering what's your favorite Games Workshop game, and in case it's one of the bigger core games. What edition? I mean, for 40k, I really like third and fourth edition. Um, Seventh edition really got really, in my opinion, some of the weapons got too insane in there. Um, for example, the D weapons they had that had really not a lot of use in small scale games. That that's fantastic in games like apocalypse games, but not in a 2000 point 40k game. The same went for the graph weapons. And it's also it was just a ridiculous weapon. It had no business in 40k, in my opinion. Obviously, if you're a die-hard tournament player, you might argue differently, but I remember my was it Cataphren destroyers from the Adeptus Mechanicus with four of them with heavy grav cannon, and I believe they dished out 24 of those shots, and they just cleared an Eldar Raid Knight in one go, and that's not really. Yeah, that's just not how it should be. Clearly it's against Eldar, so you should not hold back. But because Eldar is not going to hold back, but not that I have anything against Eldar, by the way. But you can seriously argue if it's fun that you bring your what is it, €90, $100 model, and it gets just melted in turn 1, and it's supposed to be one of the backbones of your army, maybe the backbone of your army. Yeah, that's just not really good. And well, you also clearly had the formations. Which, when I got back to 40k, they looked really good and they looked really fun. And but clearly, I hadn't learned my lesson with Games Workshop of not distributing rules evenly amongst all the armies. So I really wanted to play Adeptus Mechanicus, and my buddy told me there was, and I wanted to play a knight because I just liked the model. So a buddy of mine told me, there's a formation that ties it all together. You can just use your knight in that formation, and now the knights are in the AdMech Codex, so you can just always add knights to them. So and he went, well, it's in one of the White Wars, so it was the War Convocation, the really horrible one. And so I went and bought that, and I bought all the models that I needed, and I put it together, and I didn't really think about it and didn't think it through or maximized everything. I just took what I normally would take, and so I played some games with it. And at first I thought, I didn't really. I was under the belief that everybody had those type of formations, so I didn't feel like it was my formation that basically ruined the game. And then after a while I did. I noticed a pattern, and it was just the moment my army started to shoot turn 1, I basically won the game in one shooting phase. And clearly this also had to do with the army selection of my opponents. But, you know, I've always been in favor of play what you like to play. So, if people come up to me with, yeah, I have this and this, and nobody wants to play it, I'll always say, dude, just throw it on the table, let's play a game. I don't care if I win or lose, I just want to have a good game. But if you're gonna play a game that up front you're not gonna be able to win, that's never gonna be a good game, because you yourself already set out to lose. So after playing, and I remember this game very well. Played against Dark Angels, and a really nice guy, really good guy. And he got turn 1. I didn't seize the initiative, and he got turn 1, and he started, and I lost I didn't really get lucky because I only lost 1 model. And I believe from the top of my head he had 13 drops. And he had a Land Raider with Belial in there with Deathwing Terminators. So my turn 1, I started shooting, and I decided to just for that turn ignore the Land Raider and focus on stuff like his Devastators and his Librarians, and just try and take as much of that out as possible. But so when I say 13 drops, I mean I'm counting the Land Raider with the Librarian, or with Belial and the Terminators as 3 drops. I know they drop down as 1, but 3 entries on his army. And after my first shooting phase, that was all was left. And then I really felt bad. I didn't want to play that way. I didn't want to. Yeah, that's not me. I get that. If you're constantly playing tournaments, it's fine to use that and to do that. But then your opponent is set out to do the same thing, basically. So, both players then are ready for that type of tricks and things, and yeah. So, and that's actually the day I came up with the Tyranid army, and I decided I was going to do the Tyranid army. In the meantime, I managed to finish this layer as well, so I'm going to put him to the side, and I'll grab the Orc wagon and paint another layer on that. There it is, the race car. Let's get the other parts and the paint. I think we have around 10 minutes left now. So I'll you know what? I'm going to drink my tea, because it's already cold, nearly. Yeah, it's pretty cold, but it's nice and warm here in the room. It's actually starting to look like spring already here in the Netherlands. It's pretty warm, but it's gonna be around 15 degrees Celsius later this week, which is well, for February, it's pretty insane. And as far as I understood, it will stay that way for well, the rest of the month. So that might, but that's not a guarantee that winter is over. All of a sudden can start snowing again here. So But I'm not gonna worry too much about that. Um, I don't really mind the cold. I have more like an allergy for heat, so I think I'll just do this layer on the white parts and then call it. It shouldn't be that long. I think I'm kind of like through my talking a bit as well. Oh, well, I can clearly talk a bit about my favorite Warhammer Fantasy Edition, but in all honesty, I've really always enjoyed Warhammer Fantasy, but I never had any clue on what edition we were. So I think it was like 5th or 6th edition that I played a lot, and I had a Beastman army back when they had all the skirmish units, and that was really a lot of fun to play with. It couldn't do squat, but that was okay. It was designed not to do that much. This mainly came from the whole thing that I didn't want a really good fantasy army, because I had a way to my 40k armor was way too good. I used to be a player that wanted to win all the games, so and my 40k armies were designed to do that until I went to a tournament and just won every game. Got all the army composition points, painting points, blah blah. And the guy that came in second, he actually was so far behind that if he would have gotten an extra round to play and I wouldn't, I would have still won that tournament. And then I decided that I didn't want to do that. I probably ruined the games for people, and I didn't want to do that. So I started to do fantasy. And we had some pretty good fantasy players in our club back then. So I let them guide me in my crappy fantasy army, which gave me so much fun and really as a war gamer taught me valuable lessons in how to behave in a more sporting manner. Even though I am the kind of I say this more often, I don't take these games serious. Can be bothered, but I did. Now I don't, and I don't care who wins, and I don't care if somebody moved an inch too much, or I do try to be precise on it in battle reports, but if I play with friends, I don't really care. And I still feel that turn 7 draws usually are the best games. Or very close victories and close losses, turn 7. Stretch that game out as far as you can, still having a game. It's also not fun if in turn 1, 2, 3 somebody runs way ahead, then gets nearly vaporized and annihilated, and then the other player can manage to catch up. That's also not good, not a good game. But games where weird stuff happens, those are good. They're fun. I like that. Yeah, and that's where Age of Sigmar, in the so-called second edition isn't really a big change to the first one. So I think it's a good set of rules. It's a fun game, and I think it's also a more like, even though there's clearly very strong builds also in Age of Sigmar, it's more like a, yeah, how should I put that? A dig-proof system. You know, you clearly can, and I don't say that 40k players are dicks, by the way. Don't mean that. But the type of people that take their way too powerful army to pick up games and stuff like that. That's what I mean with that. And you can clearly do that in Age of Sigmar, but I think the average Age of Sigmar army has quite some counter options to it. So my scrape together Stormcast Eternal army, which really isn't good. It's just a starter box, the previous starter set, with a couple of dudes added to it. And yeah, that's the army. What it manages to kill stuff that is supposed to be a pretty good tournament build, and just hold it at bay a bit. And actually, it enables me to play games against those type of armies. So either my opponent doesn't know how to play, or, which I don't think is the case, or you're more like you have a fair chance. You don't have stuff like slam captains, for example, in Age of Sigmar. And whenever something seems to be very powerful, it's a lot of points. The big characters are super expensive in Age of Sigmar. And I mean dudes like Nagash and Archeon and those type of guys. And the battalions you need to pay points for, so not like the formations in 7th edition 40k, they were free. So that's also, I think that there's like, I strongly have the feeling that Games Workshop really put some thought into Age of Sigmar. Maybe you disagree. Let me know. And why? Because I'm always curious to find that out. I don't know if many people that watch this play Age of Sigmar, or have played Age of Sigmar, or want to play Age of Sigmar. I know that in the beginning that I wasn't happy with Age of Sigmar. I pre-ordered the game. When I got it, I opened it up and I went. I remember this very well. I went through the box looking for a rule book. But especially the first edition of Age of Sigmar, there wasn't really a rule book. It was like, here's a sheet, this is rules. And I went like, when I found that, I went like, what the fuck? It really, seriously, I didn't really read up on any of the rumors and stuff like that. So, yeah, I wasn't prepared for what I got, and now it makes me laugh, but I really was shocked back then. And I sold that box, actually, later, like 2 years later. No, not 2 years later. I think a good year later or something like that. when they fine-tuned the ridiculous rules a bit, and you know, rules like whoever screams loudest wins and stuff like that, because that's something I really am not interested in. And they filtered that out a bit. I again bought some Age of Sigmar, but mainly to play with the kids, and because Age of Sigmar was and still is a more simple game than 40k is, I think, even though 40k doesn't have a really difficult rule set as well, but I think Age of Sigmar just is a bit, yeah, well, more simple. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. There's still more than enough room to make errors and mistakes. So, and it's not that it's not tactical or anything like that. But the kids, they like it as well. So it's a really good game to play with them. And obviously nearly everything unpainted. But that's just to play with the kids. And like I said before, I don't care if models aren't painted to play with. But I'm gonna stop this video right here. I think we're over an hour. It looks like that. I had to stop the camera a couple of times, so I'm not really 100% sure, but it should be. I'm going to say thank you for watching and listening, and even though I didn't really have a lot of subjects for today, I think I rambled far more than enough to hopefully have helped you through an hour of hobby or whatever. Doesn't really matter. For all I care, you did dishes. I'm gonna stop for today. I've painted enough. Dragon is coming along nicely, and this thing as well. This already is nearly at the stage where I want it to be at the end of the week. So I'll finish the white parts and metal parts, which are base colored and washed. I'll finish that over this week, and then you get to see it in this weekend studio vlog together with the bikes. They are finished, and hopefully some Necrons as well. And probably will be building some of those tomorrow. Finish these couple of colors off, and then slap some rust on this guy. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the rambling for the past hour, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye bye.